In custody, the owner of a Bangladesh factory complex that collapsed last week, killing hundreds. And a meeting in Bangkok discussing Asian economies. I'm Marty Johnson reporting from Washington. Police in Bangladesh say they have taken into custody the owner of a factory complex that collapsed last week, killing at least 377 people. Authorities announced today they have detained Mohammed Sohel Rana, a local politician near the border with India. Rana had been missing since the building collapsed on Wednesday. His arrest came one day after authorities took at least 2 plant bosses and 2 engineers into custody. So far, there are a total of 7 people in custody in connection with the collapse. Police say Rana and factory managers ignored official warnings for people to evacuate the building after inspectors discovered cracks in it on Tuesday. A regional economic meeting in Bangkok this week is focusing on helping Asian economies become more resilient to both natural and man-made disasters. Ron Corbin reports for VOA that a senior UN official warns this past week's building collapse is just one example why more accountability is needed.
UN Under-Secretary General Noeleen Heyzer says more accountability is needed given growing threats from natural disasters and the impact of human-caused crises in the Asia-Pacific region. According to UN reports, the Asia-Pacific remains the most disaster-prone region, with about 2.5 million people affected and nearly 800,000 lives lost during the past decade. Heyzer said last week's garment factory collapse in Bangladesh highlights the need for accountability.
When the workers see the cracks in the building, they complain. Who takes it up? That's where the accountable governance come in.
Disaster mitigation and development will be key concerns at this week's meeting of the UN Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific. Ron Corbin for VOA News, Bangkok, Thailand.
2 bomb attacks in northwest Pakistan have killed at least 8 people at political campaign offices ahead of May 11th elections. Police say the campaign office of Syed Noor Akbar, an independent candidate for a National Assembly seat, was attacked today on the outskirts of Kohat City. At least 5 people died. A second attack at the offices of another independent candidate in Peshawar, Nasir Khan Afridi, killed 3 more people. No one has claimed responsibility for the attacks. A prosecutor says Italian politicians were the intended target of a gunman who wounded 2 police officers outside the offices of the Prime Minister in Rome today. Italian Deputy Prime Minister and Interior Minister Angelino Alfano said after the initial investigation, officials believe the attack was an isolated gesture carried out by a 49-year-old unemployed man who followed a shooting spree apparently by showing that he wanted to commit suicide. The attack came as Prime Minister Enrico Letta and his cabinet were sworn in about a kilometer away from the presidential office during a time of heightened political tensions in Italy. The 2 wounded police officers are expected to survive, and the man was taken into custody. About 2 million people have now returned to South Sudan since the 2005 peace agreement ended decades of civil war. But since South Sudan became an independent nation 18 months ago, tens of thousands of people entering the country from the north have been trapped in border towns where they're forced to leave their possessions behind if they want to go home.
Local authorities in Upper Nile State caused further delays by trying to impose a tax on the aid agency barges taking people south. But the UN Humanitarian Coordinator for South Sudan, Toby Lanza, says the IOM cannot afford to transport what it estimates is 30 cubic feet of luggage per person.
There simply isn't the money to move all of these people and all of their luggage.
Hannah McNeice for VOA News in Renk, South Sudan.
Iraqi authorities have suspended the licenses of the pan-Arabic television network Al Jazeera and 9 other satellite television operations, accusing them of inciting sectarian violence. The suspensions, announced today and effective immediately, come as Baghdad seeks to curb rising unrest spawned by fighting at a Sunni protest camp last week. At least 170 people were killed in the fighting. A statement from Al Jazeera, based in Qatar, said it was astonished by the suspension and that it covers all sides of the news stories in Iraq. I'm Marty Johnson, VOA News, Washington. More news, voanews.com.